The one major thing I forgot to say in the last video is that you need to save your work. First of all, you can see I have not yet saved this. It is untitled. You need to save. Save before you do anything. Open the file, get your rulers up, save the file. When you save your file, either Command S or File Save, you want to start with your name, right? So put your name here and either do an underscore or a space or whatever, it doesn't matter. And then the file. So maybe this is your phone stand. Or in my case, this is my demo file for demonstrating things. Save it somewhere you're going to be able to find it, desktop, or if you are organized and have your folders in someplace, then put it where it belongs and save. And it's an AI file. Make sure you save it as that AI file. This will come up, be like, yes, fine. Don't worry about it. You're good. Okay, now I have a named file. This will proceed to autosave periodically. Although save frequently anyway, particularly if you do something complex, save. You don't ever want to have to lose it, and you know how computers are. One glitch and it's gone, right? So, carefully. So we are back to, what am I doing this time? Let's go back. First of all, let's get rid of some of this stuff. I can just select with my either direct selection or the other tool and hit delete. Boom, clear up the space. Let's start over. Let's say I wanted to work in a designated area. Let's say I knew, for example, your design constraints were having an area that was maybe 150 millimeters by 150 millimeters. So what am I doing here? I'm like, okay, I can only work with this much material. Or maybe I want something long and skinny, so I could do half and half, and it's the same amount of material, it's just a long, skinny area. So that's an option. These guides, vertical and horizontal guides, if you click on the ruler with either a direct selection tool or the regular selection tool, click and drag down, you get a guide. If you click on the guide and select it, you can delete it. If you want to get rid of all of your guides, we have guides, hide guides, command semicolon. I don't know, whatever. Oh, there they go. Then I can go back to here, guides, show guides, same command, bring them back up. So if you need to line things up or work in a particular size space or you want some kind of reference, this is a great way to do it. This also helps when we zoom in, you can be like, okay, this is the area I have to work with. Useful. All right, so that's part one. Shapes over here. Some interesting things about shapes. If you know you need a rectangle that is 30 millimeters by 50 millimeters for whatever reason, if you select the rectangle, click on your artboard once, you get this dialog box. Let's say I need 30 millimeters by 1.5 inches. If you type in the units, note typing in the units, it'll change 1.5 inches into millimeters for you. It was 38.1 something or other. So it'll do the conversions, but you've got to type in your units. So, and there it is. Do I want another one? Tap again. Comes up automatically to whatever the shape was you just made. There's another one, right? So now I've got two. Now, here's the interesting thing. Right now, my fill and my stroke are at nothing. So when I click off, like I'm going to make another one. It'll be cute. You're like, I have one. Where'd my other two go? They are in there. Oops. I'm still in the shape tool. Go back to select. They're in here. You just can't see them until they're selected because it's a blank or empty, right? Fill and an empty stroke. So go back here. Give yourself a little bit of fill so you can see what's going on. Give yourself a stroke. Black, preferably. Oh, come play that game. Black, black, black. Okie dokie. There we go. Awesome. Lots of ways to do that. If, for some reason, you want to flip that around, this little swap them, now I have a gray outline and a black fill. Why I'd want to do that? Meh. If you're inverting something, that makes sense, but not for now. So there are all my shapes. Now you can see, again, these are overlapping. If I went to cut this, it would cut this into 1, 2, 3 parts. Perhaps I just want to move this one around, and I want to move this one around. Let's say I needed to, I've got them like this, and I'm like, oh, I gotta line these things up. There are arrange, transform. We have all kinds of things that we can do. One of which is align. Oh, where'd they go? Oh, here we go. Here's my align. Boop. Now, do I want to align all the tops like that? These are all the same thing, so it's good. But do I want to horizontally align the centers? Boop. Now they're all right over each other. Now because they're all over each other, this is not going to help me much. But you can see how you can align objects all different ways. Right? And you can align them to another object, to the artboard, distribute them, vertically distribute them, spatially. You get all kinds of options. That's under this align thing. Okay, so now I have 3 things stacked. I don't want them stacked. There we go. If I wanted this shape as one piece, which we talked about before, if I select them all, that's the key. Select them all first. Then go to the shape builder tool, and I can move from one to the other. And now it's all one shape. Yay! Now, if I wanted to, for example, cut a circle or part of a circle out of something, I could add another stroke there, right? It has the same fill color, so it's got issues, but we'll deal with that in a minute. Let's say I only wanted to cut out a half a circle, but I really wanted that half to be or half an ellipse to be the real arc. And I'm like, okay, so how am I going to get rid of this other stuff? Because it doesn't work like you're used to. You can't just take an eraser. This does not help us. See what that does? It's a mess. Undo. So instead, what we're going to do is go to our direct selection tool, click off of everything. So click in the white part or off the artboard, one or the other. Go over, select one anchor point, hold the shift key down. There's a second anchor point. So this is selected and that's selected. Up top, we have more of these cool things. There's all my align tools. Whoa, look at that. You can also eliminate anchors this way. What we're going to do, however, is cut. So I just made this path separate from this path by cutting at this point and this point. When I click off again, and I click back on the bottom half, you can see how I now have selected the bottom half of this ellipse. I can hit delete, get rid of one point, hit delete again. Woo! Now I have this that will get sliced, and I can then bend that out. Okay, so there's selecting anchor points, cutting the path at those 2 points so that it cuts here and it cuts here. You have to have 2 anchor points to do that. Let's say, for example, I wanted to do that down here. I could take this anchor point, hold the shift key down, and this anchor point, go up, slice, click off, right? Because before it was all blue around the edge. Now I click back on this path, and you can see how that path is now blue. I can delete that path. Whoa. So right now, if I just cut around there, this whole thing would stay connected and it would not come out of the piece of acrylic or wood or whatever I'm cutting. So that's probably a bad choice. So I'm going to put that back in there, undo a couple of those things. But those are options. All right. So the other thing that we can do, again, I'm going to stay with the direct selection tool still, because if I do this, it's going to take the whole thing. I can go to this anchor point over here on the corner. And up here, I have converting an anchor point to a corner or converting a corner to a curve, right? So I just changed that so it has now handles. If I change my mind, I can bring the handles back in. We did that before. Or let's say I wanted a curve on one part but not the other part, right? Say I wanted it to do that. You can bring one handle in and then the other one to make the curve, and then you can like Ooh, I want the curve in the middle, but I want more of a curve. Or make it shorter, I want less of a curve. Or I need the curve to be a little more even. Be as particular as you need to be. But there are some options for you. So far so good. If we were going to try to cut this out right now, it would not cut because you have fill in your shape. So what we would need to do, and I'm going to zoom out for a second, I'm going to do Command A to select all. So that's selecting everything I've done so far. Even if it was on other parts of the board, it would be selected, but it's just this. Then I'm going to go up here, and you're going to see there's a question mark and a question mark, and over here too. These are the two places where you see fill and stroke. Fill, stroke. I can do this and go over to the none fill. So I just got rid of all my fill. Fabulous. I'm then going to go to my stroke and click black. So this white box with a red line, and this should be a black outline, will get me where I need to be to cut. The other thing is that when you are cutting, this needs to be 0.001 or 0.003. Either of those will work just fine. Hit tab. Apply that. When I click off of this, it's really hard to see, right? It's very faint, and it looks kind of wonky in places. It's still there. If I select it, you can see it a little better. It's still there. Everything's fine. But it needs to be this small in order to cut. You can also do that change on the Windows computer that's hooked up to the laser cutter because it's sort of the last thing you need to do before you send the file. Don't forget, or it just won't cut. It will engrave, and you don't want to do that yet. This is cutting. We're going to talk engraving in a minute. But while you are working, in order to see what you're doing, at least a 0.35, somewhere in that ballpark, will let you see what you're working on. Okay, so stroke width, shape tools, joining shapes, anchor, handles, curves, converting, right? These converting, cutting, deleting part of a path. Yep. That's all good. That's all good. Okay, that's probably enough for this screencast, and we'll do one more for how to do something that you want to engrave. And go from there.